The final season of Clone Wars has been announced, and that is hype. That show is so underappreciated and underrated, so if you haven't already seen it so far, oh man, you should absolutely do that. Watching the trailer reminded me of the coolest Star Wars character to ever grace our screens. Jar Jar Binks. This guy can kick 7 shades of ass. He became a senator, he's a war veteran, and... Wait, sorry, hold up, that's not right. Oh, yeah, my bad. We're talking about Darth Maul today. Sorry, I always get those two mixed up. They just look so alike. Hit the like button if you think Darth Maul is the most badass Sith ever made, and comment to let me know what video you'd like me to make next. Let's get drawing. Alright, here's how you draw the most kick-ass Sith ever made. We're going to start with an oval for the head, as you usually do. And these are just guidelines. Feel free to just kind of like stroke with your pencil till you build up the right kind of shape. I like to do that. I just think it gives me a bit more kind of freedom, and it's more fun to draw that way. More flexibility, all that good stuff. And then in the middle of that, going to draw kind of a cross, and this is at a slight angle because that's kind of the way the head is. Just going to kind of lower the opacity, there we go, on that original preview there, just so you can see what I'm doing. Either side of this, you want to draw ears. The ears, the tops of the ears, kind of rest where that kind of middle cross is, this bit here. So the tops are kind of level with that. Okay, and now for the pose. Now the pose is not easy, but if you need to, slow the video down or pause it or whatever you need to kind of catch up. I am used to drawing at a certain speed, so I apologize if this is a bit too fast for you. But hey, this is YouTube and you can pretty much choose whatever speed you want. But we're just going to draw this fairly unique shape going on. This is basically the entire torso. And over here, we've got a shoulder, so I'm just going to kind of draw a quick circle for where the shoulder kind of connects to the body. Now, luckily, we can draw the other shoulder straight away and get that finished immediately. We're not really going to see that back arm. It's just kind of hiding behind the torso there because it's holding the lightsaber behind his body. Now, starting with the middle of that circle I just drew, I'm going to draw his bicep coming down just past the guideline for the torso and then coming across here. This is where we're going to start drawing a hand, and hands are always really, really hard. Actually, before I get started with that, I'm just going to link up here. You should see a card come up just now showing you how to draw hands. It's a tutorial I'm pretty proud of. It goes through a pretty basic way of drawing hands, yeah, I'll show you how to draw one real quick here. So what I like to do to kind of get that 3D look really nailed is I like to draw a wedge kind of shape for the hand that gets a bit wider towards the fingers, so it's nice and narrow at the wrist. And then notice it kind of ends in this kind of block shape. So this is like if I shade this in, imagine that as a 3D shape. That's where the fingers come out of. And then I find it easier to draw 4 circles along this. And that's where the fingers kind of connect to the hand. And I'm going to draw a finger coming from each of these in a kind of like spread out kind of shape in slightly different directions. Okay, it looks a bit messy, but it'll make sense once you start going over it carefully with your Sharpie or whatever you're going to use to go over it later. Just kind of drawing the shape of the forearm real quick here, and we might want to draw some wrappings around that because it's kind of like a leather thing that's kind of tied on over his coat. And then for the arm, you can be a little bit liberal with this. You can be kind of free and just kind of flow, give it lots of wiggles as if it's kind of flapping in the wind, because it's a very loose fabric, and that kind of works because he is a martial artist, he is a Jedi, so he's going to need a lot of room to move, so slightly baggy clothing is a pretty good idea if that's your profession. We're going to come to the face last. I'm just going to tackle all the clothing first. So right underneath this chin, going to draw like the part of his jacket here, and obviously the other part here. This is an opening in the jacket, so that's why the cloth is kind of like wavy like that. So underneath this is where his actual torso is. So I'm just going to draw in a bit of the details here. There's a small leather kind of breastplate here, just kind of resting across his torso there. And then here is where the neck is just kind of covered by a bit of cloth. So just going to draw a couple of lines to cover up that neck, because we can't really see it from this angle. And now we're going to draw in a belt, so we're just kind of drawing in a thick rectangle sitting underneath that. I want to draw some stripes along this, because again, it's another one of those leather kind of coatings, just kind of wrapping the cloth in place. And if you want, you can draw a line here just to kind of help show that the cloth is kind of coming out and away from his torso. Okay, see that bend there, the way it kind of creases in towards the body there? Just kind of comes in a tiny bit, comes out a tiny bit. That's a great way to draw loose cloth. I will do a tutorial on that separately in the future if you guys really want it. It wouldn't be too hard to do, to be honest, so I'd be happy to draw that. So this leg's going to come out to about here, and then I'm going to bring it down. It's very, very skinny at the moment because it's just a guideline. We're going to add a lot to this in a moment. I'm just going to add a small shape at the bottom for the foot. Okay, so see how I drew that? Once I got to the ankle rather, I angled the line down towards the toe, kind of flattened it off as I brought it down to the bottom, and there's a bit here to separate the front of the foot from the heel, which is this, and then I just kind of brought it back up to be level with that ankle there. So then it's a good idea to kind of give this leg some shape now. So basically we're just going to kind of thicken it out, start very narrow at the ankle, but make it wider as we approach the knee, and we actually don't need to draw anything at all for the thigh over here because this is going to be completely covered in cloth. And now for this leg kind of comes away from over here. It starts underneath this arm, and it's at kind of an extreme angle. If you want, you can draw a circle here to help remind you where the knee is as you carry on and draw the other half of the full length of the leg. So you've got one half here for the thigh and one half there for the shins. Roughly accurate proportions there. So this foot is quite hard. I like to start by drawing this side completely straight down towards the floor. And then I'm going to draw another one of those kind of dips in where it shows where the heel is and where the front of the foot comes out. Okay, come around the front here for the toes and then angle this up towards the ankle. Okay, now the beauty of sketching with a pencil is that you don't really have to worry about things being a little bit wrong. Like this ankle's way too narrow at the moment, but that's completely fine because I can actually just start here and then come out a bit for the calf and the top of the shin. So I've just kind of ignored that mistake I made there, and I can actually just erase that now just to make that a bit clearer for you. But that's the beauty of working with a pencil, you have that kind of flexibility. So the top of the boot, we can just kind of cover this off before it gets to the knee, just kind of give it a bit of a bend. And the reason why we can bend it like that is because this is, again, quite loose clothing. So you only have to draw a little bit, don't go too crazy with it, because this whole area here is covered with kind of flapping bits of cloth, which we're going to draw now. This is the really, really fun part. So if you got this far, this is the most fun you're going to have with this sketch, but that doesn't mean you should give up after this. So we're going to start here, right here, where the belt connects with the thigh. And we're going to just basically draw a load of wavy lines that come over the shin like this, and we'll give it a bit of a bend, coming all the way down here. It's kind of a front flap for the cloth there. Okay, and if you want, you should probably add some texture to this here and there, because it has actually got some texture on the actual character model or the actual outfit that the actor wears in the movie. So you can add some lines just kind of to help show some, so like make it look like it's more material than just kind of like a plastic sheet like that. Okay, so now we've got like kind of another bit kind of flapping out over here. Maybe this bit's tucked behind this leg a little bit. Maybe a little bit more here. So the wind's really kind of, is probably doing like a Marilyn Monroe kind of thing here, where the wind is kind of dramatically blowing, maybe just from underneath him, maybe he's stood in a vent or something, or maybe just nearby. It's a very kind of stereotypical, look how cool this character is kind of effect, where you kind of blow their clothing around like this. But it looks really good in the finished product. So that's why I'm showing you guys how to do it now. Also, it's in the pose that I'm using as a reference for this, and I thought, hey, that would be a great thing to show you guys. Maybe there's a little bit over here as well, just kind of hidden off at the back there. And also, I'm going to add another one at the bottom here, and this is behind him. So I'm going to shade this in just so it gives the impression that that's behind him, and we don't have to worry about that looking too detailed, especially not compared to these bits that we're really looking at the front over here. So now let's add a little bit of detail to these shins because they're very, very basic. So we're just going to add a bit of texture here. There's a small pad on each of the heels, so we'll add that in now. And there's a couple, if I'm looking at the reference picture right, there's a few folds in the leather here. There's also kind of like a chevron shape on each shin like this. So I'm just going to draw that in real quick, just blocking that little chevron. Try your best to get a bit of perspective on it. So if the shin's facing this way, that side of the chevron is going to be smaller to give the impression that it's further away. And well, because we're drawing cartoons, you can afford to exaggerate things like that and kind of go over the top with it. You can really angle it back if you want to. Lots of flexibility in drawing cartoons. Sorry about my throat. I'll have to clear it properly after this video. So I'm going to draw the lightsaber at the back. So if you've got a ruler, I'm actually not going to use a ruler just because I'm on a computer and I don't want to put a ruler on my tablet or whatever. If you've got a ruler, it'd be a good idea to start a line here and then draw a straight line over here. And that way, go right over the torso like that, go right over. And that way you get a perfectly straight line. You know the lightsaber is not going to end up kind of bendy like this. You know, you're not going to make that kind of mistake. So I'm just going to use a tool on my computer to get that shape right for myself. like that. There we go. And then I can just kind of use my eraser and get rid of the lines that are overlapping here. I don't have to do that urgently. It's just for the sake of making it tidier and nicer to look at. Okay, and now we know that that is a perfectly straight line, so our lightsaber is not going to look wonky. So just near the body on each side, you're going to want to draw a small rectangle crossing the line that you just drew, and then a couple of lines either side of the line that you just drew, and that's your lightsaber handle there. So it's got that little bit at the end where the lightsaber comes out of. Might want to add a line underneath it just for a bit of detail. And then we can just kind of follow the line that we originally drew. Okay, keep as close to the line as you can. Especially when you're inking it with your pen. Doesn't really matter too much with your pencil. You just want to kind of get the basic shapes down before you finalize everything. Okay, so nice and close to that first guideline, and there we go. So that lightsaber is already looking pretty cool, but we'll refine it more when we go over it with our pen. So now for the dreaded part, the most difficult part of all, the face. I'm going to zoom in a bit here for you. Let's bring this nice and close. Okay, so the face. Now, we drew this this cross in earlier for a good reason. I'm going to show you exactly what that reason is. I'm going to start with an eyebrow that comes out from above that middle guideline like that. And these eyebrows have a bit of a curve to them, okay, and they're angled down because our character's going to be frowning, so you might want to add some frown lines there just between those eyebrows. And now for the horns, so we'll draw one kind of big central horn here. Well, it's not particularly big. They're all kind of the same size, to be honest. So we'll add a couple here on either side of that central one. He's got some horns there on the side of his head. And then there's one just kind of at the top there that you can see kind of peeking over. And now for those eyes. Now, the eyes, we're going to keep them nice and small. This is an evil character, so we don't want to make his eyes too kind of cute and big and googly. I have actually done a tutorial on how to draw eyes. That's more of a cartoony style than what we're going for in this, but I will link it here. You can see that over there and that card over there. If you need some help drawing some cartoon eyes or just kind of need a refresher, then that tutorial is definitely for you. It's definitely one of my more popular videos. So I'm pretty proud of how that tutorial went. So just for the nose, we're going to draw this basic shape. It's got a slight lump at each side, and then a big lump down towards the bottom. And now for the mouth. Now you can do pretty much anything you want with the mouth. I mean, I'm going to go for this kind of frown, but I mean, really, ideally you could do anything you like. If you want, you could give him a big goofy smile like this, or go really over the top to draw this crazy, I'm going to stab you with my lightsaber kind of look. Some fangs or something like that, or maybe he's missing some teeth, make him look like he hasn't brushed his teeth in a really, really long time. And come on, he's a Sith. He's, you know, when was the last time this guy brushed his teeth? He's probably never ever brushed his teeth. It's probably taken him so long to brush his teeth even once, that his teeth have started to come out in the shape of horns on the top of his head. Don't really know where I'm going with that. I'm going to stick with that mean kind of look there. So all I've done there is a straight line that's got a bit of an angle to it across the face, and then I've brought each side down just a tiny bit, and sometimes those subtleties can go a long way in drawing expressions. Just going to draw some kind of cheek folds. I don't really know what you'd call those, either side of the mouth, and a small bit there for the chin. And there we go. So all we've got to do now is the pattern on his face. Now the pattern is very, very intricate, so stick with this as well as you can, because yeah, it gets very, very detailed. So I like to start with the middle and work outwards. So we've got this big kind of black bit that goes around this horn, over the top, and then down. And this actually goes all the way down along this guideline, this conveniently placed guideline. And then we've got a couple of patches on his nose, little kind of diamond shapes here, and it ends about there, okay? But then the very, very bottom of his nose gets a bit of it as well, okay? So it ends up kind of looking like, almost like someone wearing cat makeup. Okay, so his nose is covered in black face paint. There's actually a little bit coming down underneath it as well. Alright, and now for the around the eyes, we've got this kind of lightning bolt effect going up like this. It's very, very unique looking, but it links up with this horn up here. So you can use the horn if you want as a starting point, and you just kind of make this lightning bolt shape down over his face like this. And then it gets to his eye, and it kind of goes around his eye like this in this big kind of pattern. Leave a space there as you come down under the eye, and we'll do the same on the other side. So again, we're just kind of repeating this pattern, this kind of arcing electricity look. It goes around the horn, like the horn's just kind of sitting in a slot of black makeup. I don't know who does this guy's makeup, but they're an excellent makeup artist, both in real life and the actual character. Like, do they have makeup artists in Star Wars? Is that a thing? Like, why is Darth Maul the only guy who actually bothered to have some face paint done? The mind boggles. So we've got a little bit coming down over the cheek here, and then we'll link that up there. And then right at this side of the face, it's looking a bit chubby at the moment, isn't it? But that's because we haven't actually finished the face paint on this side. So the ear is completely covered in black paint over here. So we'll start by coming around the ear a little bit, and this links up to this, and then on this side, it comes down, makes a small, tiny little spike at the side of the mouth there, and then goes up and down like that. Up and down. We've got that spike on the other side. It is perfectly symmetrical, by the way, this face paint, which is what makes it even more impressive. And then before we get there, we've got another kind of spike going up just beside the nose there. And then it links up to that before we feed it past the ear again. Now, just under his mouth, we've got a bit more red paint in between all the black paint in this kind of wiggly shape. We come down and make a bit of a claw shape here, and there's a couple of very small black spots underneath the lip. And for a bit of extra detail, there's a couple of black spots there. And there we go, it's pretty much all the face paint we can really see from where we are. So if I zoom back out again, restore this back to the size we started with, there we go, get it nice and in the center like that. And there we go. Maybe if you want to add a bit more cloth down here just to kind of fill in the gap, that's up to you. But our sketch of Darth Maul at this point is done. So grab your pen or your Sharpie, whatever you're going to go with your drawing with. Might want to add some texture while you're at it, because we've got a bit missing here if you want to draw it in. But otherwise, you're good to go. So I'm going to finish my drawing. You should do the same, and I'll see you in just a moment. Double-sided red lightsabers for life. Or you could make his lightsaber whatever colour you want. I mean, it's your drawing after all, so you know what, screw it. Darth Maul has a rainbow lightsaber now. Anyway, thanks for watching. Join the Discord channel to share your artwork and check out the community while you're at it. And if you subscribe to this channel right now and like this video, I will personally come over to your house, shake your hand, and thank you in person. Well, actually, no, I won't. I don't have the means to do that. But I will be very grateful, and you'll start learning to draw faster than ever before with us. And with that, until next time.